The Rockefeller Foundation recently established an evaluation unit, and the main purpose of it is, one, to help us internally track our own results, track our own learning, the impact of the grants we make, so that we can be able to say that we've given out so many grants and that they're working towards certain outcomes. The unit is very interested in supporting evaluation capacity in the region. The evaluation capacity building approach mainly is to try to help our grantees be better able to manage evaluations, commission evaluations, or use evaluation for their own learning. And in the fall of 2009, we were in dialogue with PRIA and IPA. So PRIA is the Participatory Research in Asia organization based in Delhi. IPA is the Institute for Policy Alternatives based in Ghana. So we started talking to both these organizations to see, could they provide any support to the networks around monitoring and evaluation. So we talked with Sheila and Joel and Samsuk and others to find out would they also be interested. And the decision was that we would provide some initial support for these organizations to get to know each other and see whether there's any sort of way forward. And the basic idea was to learn about how do the networks already use evaluation, how do they learn, how do they monitor their work. Is there any space for further strengthening? Is there any space for an intervention or support of any kind? And I think what is really important is evaluation for a long time has been an outsider coming in and evaluating an organization. And our approach is very much that organizations should be able to own evaluations themselves. Even those of outsiders, they should be able to challenge them or their own evaluations to better their own work. So that's sort of the basis for why we have started this work. And what we decided is both PRIA and IPA spent some time with each of the networks, and mainly in India, South Africa, Kenya, and Thailand. And they decided they would come here to share what they've learned and to discuss any possible ways forward. The foundation has been working closely with some of the networks, but we're hoping that this kind of information would be useful generally across the board, and that people will, if they find it interesting, take it up and even have follow-up conversations with PRIA and IPA. And that's why we wanted to invite all of the networks to this particular meeting, because we thought we wanted to hear feedback from you, whether this is a useful approach, whether this is something you could use in the future, etc. So the whole M&E conversation can oftentimes sort of quickly move into reports for donors and the issues between that. And I think what Rajesh was mentioning, and I think it's important to just recap and remember, is that this conversation started around how can SDI, ACHR, and its affiliates create their own systems that actually will be useful to them. So if they're creating systems that is time-consuming for their own staff, then they probably are shooting themselves in the foot, so to speak. So the idea is to try to create your own systems of learning, etc., that you find useful, which then you can then use to then sort of communicate with outside funders and donors, versus using the starting at the point of what do I say to a donor as a starting point.